All right, the Memphis Grizzlies defeat the Houston Rock. Did you just call timeout? Did you call timeout?
Do they ever?
You didn't. You
Me?
didn't call
I didn't
timeout.
call. I didn't call timeout. You call
You didn't
timeout?
call. No, I didn't. Okay.
The- Must have. I think you heard. You might have heard time.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I saw something.
Okay.
I saw something.
Happens.
The Grizzlies beat the Rockets 120 to 119, even though they were victims of an inadvertent timeout there in the last possession. Desmond Bane, 24 points, 12 rebounds. Luke Kennard, 22 points. Jaren Jackson, 21, 4 and 4. For the Rockets, Jalen Green, 25 points. Dylan had 22. Amen Thompson, 21, 7 and 4. So originally, this was a game I was excited to see because obviously these are two young teams. They're close in the standings. They are two franchises that think that they can make some noise in the Western Conference, maybe in the whole NBA playoffs this year. And then you hear before the game that Şengün and Morant are out, and you kind of get sad, and you're like, damn, this isn't, the stakes aren't there. The stakes aren't there, but it was a great game. It was a great game to watch. And it was also interesting to see, like, how are these teams going to operate when their first options aren't there? You know, it was kind of like an experimental game. That's how I looked at it. Like, yeah, this may not be the Grizzlies at full strength without their best player, and this may not be the Rockets in full strength without their best player. Let's see what they could do. And pretty much what it was, I know the score looks kind of high scoring, but I felt like the defenses dictated a lot of this game, especially in the half court. You saw how much the Rockets missed Şengün, and you saw a little bit how much the Grizzlies missed Ja as well. I thought Luke Kennard came in and did a good job running point. Luke was one of my favorite college basketball players. I'm not a Duke fan, but I love the way Luke's always played. So I think inserting him to the starting lineup is an interesting move, and it's proven to be a good move. Dylan Brooks continues to prove everybody in the comments wrong.
Being consistent.
So shout out to him. Yeah. But you can see that the Rockets were kind of like experimenting with, should we have a man run the point, especially in situations where the defense is going to be sagging on him and things are getting tight. They had some pick and roll at the top with Fred VanVleet. They had Jalen Green running it a few times. I mean, Dylan went on a personal 8-0 run just based off of his shot making alone. It felt like these teams, not that they were struggling to score the basketball, but it was definitely a process, right? And that's because these two teams have good defenses anyway. So it was an interesting game. Like it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know how much we can take from this because, again, Şengün was out and Ja was out, but it was a fun game to watch. The Grizzlies avoided being swept. Kwab, your general thoughts to kick it off.
You're mad grainy right now.
Don't worry about me. We're good.
Okay. Are you good on your end?
Yeah, it'll download.
Okay. Well, okay. My take on the game was, do the Rockets ever like not play a close, like ridiculous game like the past?
No, it's part of the contract.
Like
it's part of the script that they agreed to.
It has to be a close game. It has to be some theatrics, and I think it would, to me, even though Alp didn't play, congrats on him being a first-time All-Star. Like well deserved.
Shout out Alp.
Like he's been playing amazing all year. Shout him out.
You know the rules. Yeah, even if you're driving, like
driving. Please do not start clapping. First of all, why are they watching this while you're driving? Why are they watching?
People watch YouTube while they're driving.
Why are they watching this?
You'd be surprised. People I throw on YouTube when I'm driving.
That's scary.
Anyway,
please don't.
Anyway,
yes, yeah. Like first-time All-Star, well deserved. Not having him factored in the game. Also, like the Grizzlies not having Morant factors in the game, but I still expected it to be a good game, and it was. The one thing that was evident was the Grizzlies made sure they wanted to frustrate Jalen Green, so they put Jalen Wells on him and told him, you're gonna miss or make sure you find that guy and pressure him all the way down court. And Jalen Wells has been doing that all season. I remember I watched the game when the Grizzlies played. They played the Warriors, and he basically chased Steph Curry. Like he was stuck to Steph Curry's side the whole game and wouldn't leave him. And he did a great job that game. So I figured it was going to be frustrating for Jalen Green because Jalen Green doesn't play the same way as Curry, where like the constant movement. But there were points in the game you could tell Jalen Green was frustrated because he wasn't getting the ball, or he wasn't touching the ball. And there were times he took like unadvised shots. Honestly, like he's been, to me, since the start of the year. He's been playing really well, being very decisive, taking like smart shots. And there were a couple of times I was like, that's I haven't touched the ball in a while. I want to get this off type shot, which they never end up good. Thompson, that he had there was a point in the second quarter where he had just a run. I was just like, yo, this guy's ridiculous. Like blocks, midi jumpers, was going crazy. To the Grizzlies' credit, Luke Kennard being in the starting lineup and with Desmond Bane, not having a traditional point guard can always be like, can kind of be weird, but they've been doing it a couple of times and been working out for them. Having those two shooters in your perimeter has been working out. Shout out Jaren Jackson Jr., also All-Star. We got
Yes,
clap it
shout
up.
out
We gotta
Jaren.
clap it
Yep.
up. We gotta clap it up. Let's do it. Let's clap it up.
Even if you're driving,
If you're driving, I guess I say even if you're driving, driving.
shout out Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr. He played well, minus the fouls. Again, I always say with him, if he just stays out of foul trouble, he's fine. But that man is always in foul trouble. But this game again showed how deep the Grizzlies are, because you had contributions from Brandon Clark, Santi Aldama off the bench, Jake LaRavia hitting a bank shot. Like,
Yeah,
like I was just like,
the
what?
bank is open.
Yeah. And even Scottie Pippen Jr. came off the bench and did a couple of things to help the team like build when they were like, it felt like they were kind of being iffy. But great game. Like I enjoyed it. Like I feel like anytime I watch the Rockets, it's a fun game. To their credit, I mean this can only help them moving forward. Just being able to play a lot of close games, just having that experience, it factors in. Same with the Grizzlies too, especially not being able to win without your best player.
So they've been out. I don't know how many games Ja's missed. I probably should have looked this up before we started recording, but they've played a significant amount of games without Ja this year.
Yeah, and and still having the record they have, it's impressive.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
Yeah.
So I mean, props to them. Again, I always say this. I don't know where the Grizzlies, who the Grizzlies scouting department is. You keep finding these players, like, where, like as we said before, like where did y'all find Jalen Wells? I would have took him on my team if I knew.
love his game.
Yeah,
Absolutely love his game.
great game, great game by him. But to me, like you said, to me, it's like it kind of when you play it when players are kind of missing, it's kind of like we kind of wanted a fully healthy team,
Right.
to watch, but it was still a great game.
But regardless, these are still two good teams without their best players, and that's kind of a point I want to hammer down. Just because Şengün and Morant were out doesn't mean that these two teams aren't good.
Yeah.
I think we saw really good basketball today, and I think it also showed that, like, even though I feel like both teams kind of struggled in the half court, you saw how, like, hey, we can get, Luke Kennard running the point and running a pick and roll and making decisions with the basketball.
Yeah.
We can get Desmond Bane going. We can get Jaren Jackson handling the ball up top. Like, not that they haven't been doing that all year, but it shows that it's kind of like practice in the sense where it's like, what if in the playoff series Ja gets taken away, or he's in foul trouble, or he's just not in the game because he's resting? Like, we can go to these players, and I think the Grizzlies, I won't say they showed today because they've played without him, but if you were watching them today for the first time or you haven't really watched them, you kind of notice that, hey, like, they have people who can handle the ball. They have players who can create for themselves and create for others as well. And I think you can say that about the Rockets, maybe not as much, because Jalen Green to me is more looking for himself, even though he's probably the most athletic player on the court. Van Fleet too, same thing. He comes off the pick and roll. If you're in drop, he's probably going to take that three. He'll make the right pass, but he's not a playmaker. And I don't really think I would rather have like a Desmond Bane off the dribble, or even like a Jaren Jackson off the dribble, than a Fred VanVleet in certain situations. Not always. I'm not saying Jaren Jackson's a guard who can just like cross anyone up, but Jaren does a good job of going against players his size who are guarding him out in the perimeter. That's my point. And I meant Thompson. To me, he's a phenomenal basketball player, but teams sag off him and they play him in the paint, and that's really difficult to create offense in the half court when the game slows down. Unless Amen's hitting the mid range, then it becomes easier. But he has to show that he can do that. So for me, I think the Grizzlies are a little underrated in the sense where I think a lot of people nationally or a casual NBA fan might think the Grizzlies are just John Morant, and they're not. There are a lot of different pieces. I do think, Luke Kennard is somebody who's been vastly underrated in this league. He's one of the best three-point shooters that they have in the NBA, and I think a lot of people don't know that he can actually handle the ball, that he can make decisions with the basketball, and that it's maybe not the worst thing in the world to have him run the offense sometimes. And so if you were an NBA fan who tuned into this game, you saw, oh, these teams are deep, and these teams have a lot of different assets to them. It was just a great game to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, and your point about Luke Kennard, I think they said he's leading the league in 3-point percentage. So
Yeah.
which is like I think they showed the graphic and it was like him, Sabonis, Jokic, and I was like, what the is this list? What is this? But yeah, I mean, like I said, you having a bench, having a deep, versatile bench, it makes a difference because when players are out, you have players that can step in, and that can only help you in the playoffs. Like in the playoff
Yeah.
setting, when somebody goes down, somebody's not there, you can have players step up. Same goes for the Rockets. Not having Alpi, you see how Steven Adams with a double, and he looks like he's still like getting back to form from his injury. But
Yeah.
some of the stuff he was able to do with offensive rebounds, him and Tari I think we're both with doubles with
Love Tari's
rebounds.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah. So like getting on, and that they were able to like build a lead with that when a team was like struggling with missed shots in the half court, still getting second possessions. That when you're playing against that can frustrate you as a defense if you don't complete the stop. And they did a good job with that, and that can only help again when the team is fully healthy. Having that off the bench, like that can only help you in the long run.
So now I'm not comparing who's a better player, but who do you think missed their best player more today? Obviously, the Grizzlies won, so I feel like the default answer would be like, well, obviously the Rockets missed Şengün more.
No,
so, but
Rockets.
Is that the answer to you?
Yeah, because to me, the games we have watched in the past with the Rockets playing the Grizzlies, Şengün has killed Zach Edey. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
true. He has. Yeah.
Like it's been like it was. I think if you go back and watch some the other reactions we had, I vividly remember you saying like this is a bad matchup for Edey. Like you wouldn't want him on the floor and it would be bad. Like he has killed Edey.
Good point. I forgot about that. He did kill Edey. And in the last reaction video, I'm like, I don't know if this is a playoff series if I'm playing Zach Edey. You're right. I forgot about that. It's funny how you don't even think about that because Şengün's not in the game. But yeah, I agree with you too. And also because like, I feel like in the half court, the Rockets are running pick and roll, a little bit of ISO here and there, but their best sets, they are most effective to me in the half court when they're running through Şengün up top. He's their best passer. He's their best playmaker, in my opinion. He's their best decision maker in the half court. And when you lose that, you kind of like I know Ja's the most important player on the Grizzlies too, but I feel like a lot of their offense is like give the ball to Ja and go. They might do pick and roll every once in a while, but let's give the ball to Ja and go. You could do that with Jaren Jackson if he has a mismatch. You can have the Desmond Bane. Like there's not much you have to change. But when you're the Rockets and you're running dribble handoffs with Şengün or you have him up top and you're running different types of actions and it's based off of him reading certain situations, what you're running without him is completely different. And I think it's just that's why they probably missed him more. And that's why I think he's I wouldn't say he's more important to the team because I think Ja's just as important for the Grizzlies. But I do think his absence is meant specifically more in the half court than Ja is probably. I don't know because Ja's also a point guard. I guess it just depends. I think they're probably equally as missed. I'm actually cowering out on this take. I think they're equally as missed. Yeah.
I'll say this with the Grizzlies, they play the arguably the fastest pace in the league, and they have their half court offense is very spread out, like ISO heavy, so it like allows sometimes they set screens also, but it allows like you saw how aggressive Desmond Bane was throughout the course of the game, even Luke Kennard, even Santi Aldama when he came off the bench. So it allows them to be always on the attack, and having Ja, who's arguably the best athlete and one of the best point guards in the league, it's a game changer. I get that. I'm not like saying like he's not missed. I just feel like when I watch the Rockets with Şengün, what he brings on the center position is like when everything stalls out and all fails, you still have that big guy you can throw it down to who's good enough to get you a bucket, if there's a double team, get you an assist, get rebounds, set screens, and be a threat even on the roll. Even if he doesn't get it, him being a threat on the roll opens up for like Jalen Green and Amen when they're driving. Like little things like that. It just having like great hands to catch and be able to finish through contact, all that. So like games like this when the game starts getting tight and you saw like them forcing up shots in the half court, it would have probably been like maybe they would slow down, run a pick and roll, or throw it down to
They
Şengün
dribbled a lot.
Yeah.
That was my beef with the Rock. They were just dribbling a lot. Without going anywhere, without penetrating, and then they would get into the paint and force up a bad shot or turn the ball over. That was my problem with the Rockets' offense today. Was like, man, there was a lot of times where you're just dribbling, and trying to get into the paint or trying to take your man off the dribble, and they just couldn't do it.
I think,
Whereas the Grizzlies, it's kind of like that's what they do anyway.
That's the Grizzlies' offense, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's a part of, like I said, part of that I think has to do with like Jalen Green, for example, being frustrated, like because of the defense he faced. Like to get face guarded the whole game. It's one thing if it's like a quarter or like they spent it the whole game, and if it was like still the whole game, and you feel like you can't get in rhythm. It could kind of mess with you. There were times like he was more decisive on his drives or like looking to pass, but there were times he was just forcing up shots and not really going anywhere because he just looked like he hadn't touched the ball in a while. And that if you're playing that way, that never ends up good.
All right, well there you go. The Grizzlies beat the Rockets 120-119. Great game. Kwab and I don't know if we'll be back tomorrow. The Knicks play the Lakers. I'm going to see if I can convince Kwab to do a recap of that. We will see. Also, stay tuned for our power rankings. We got to do a full episode, man. We haven't done a full episode in a while.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that as well. In the meantime, you can follow The Dime at The Dime NBA and all social media platforms. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. He's Kwab at Kwab AKAS. We'll see you next time for another episode of The Dime. Peace.